And we're live.
We're live! Okay, sorry.
Okay. You wanna...
It's trying to be serious.
Yeah.
So we're on
just like super
television.
Serious. Yeah, 1 second.
Let us drink coffee.
And
water.
Also known
as WEquil juice. Oh.
Okay, there we go. Gotta mute this.
For a second, I thought we were in like an alternative universe.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that would have been crazy, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
Okay.
Cheers. Oh, that's perfect.
Yes.
So,
hello, person in the comment box.
Hi, guys. So, we have Aila. She's going to be joining us more on TV because she's the entertainer.
Yeah. You just... Wow, you just look so very excited.
Do you want to move in? We can have Aila in the middle. All right, okay. All right. Yeah. Put Aila in the middle. It'll be great.
Okay.
Yeah. Get up real close here. Real close. All right.
Then you have to be my.
So we're gonna be talking. We're gonna be talking about escape velocity. Maybe Sumay, do you want to kick us off and discuss like the meaning of that, and then perhaps Aila could elaborate on it.
Sure. Yeah, it's different than like equilibrium, but I think it kind of goes.
You might want to back up and start with path to equilibrium.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
And we're gonna back up a little more and tell our life story. Okay.
I was born. No.
Okay. So basically, like, equilibrium is the mission of WEquil Group, and it's just to make it like so you're in a point where your natural strengths and interests are in line with the wants and needs of the world, and that basically means you're just doing what you're passionate about and what you're interested in, and then you're adding value, and so that's like a pretty good spot. Like escape velocity is kind of when learning isn't work anymore, and you've reached like natural curiosity, where you basically like trying to discover your strengths and interests and trying to like share sharing your specific knowledge to the world is like not work to you, I guess.
Yeah, I can relate this a little bit before Aila goes to kind of grown-up lingo. So there's a term that we use, we grown-ups call the grind. And the grind is when... Yeah. The grind, yeah. You're grinding away at your job.
And your sanity.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the kids at school, they also have this grind. Like, when you guys are in school and you're like, okay, gotta get on the bus, gotta go, and then I'm gonna go do all this work.
Yeah.
And then, and it's a grind because, like, at no point along the way are people really trying to tailor the experience of learning, and then later with work, they're not, people generally with jobs, people aren't going out of their way to try to tailor the job to you. They're tailoring, well, with school, basically there's like a standardized curriculum across the country and everybody pretty much does the same thing. And then within work, it's like, okay, this is the job, you got to do the job, and if you don't do the job, you get fired, and right, that's kind of like the way things go, right?
Then you don't have food. So
right, then you don't have food, and then, well, yeah, basically. So we're essentially trying to create a different path that is, in our view, far more enjoyable and also ends up being more successful, and that is this path to equilibrium. And it relates to the thesis that we have at WEquil Capital about this new personalized digital economy. It's very creative. and essentially leveraging that which makes you unique is really the best way to also make money and be successful. It's not only much more enjoyable, and so trying to learn more about that and double down on it, really build that for yourself. That's that path to equilibrium, is using that to as part of your education process, but then later in life also using that to make money. So there's a point along this path that we call escape velocity. And it's the point where, because you're doing things that relate to your unique strengths and interests as part of your learning process, it actually should be more enjoyable to a point where you want to do it. And as you get better at it, one of the components that cause you to enjoy it more is that you get better at it, and people start to recognize that you're doing interesting things that are based on that which makes you unique. And so that positive peer reinforcement is part of the ingredients to this, right? But we wanted to talk about escape velocity because it's really important. It's like one of these, if we can deeply understand escape velocity, then we can try to structure it in a way that helps other students, and not just the students, but even like entrepreneurs that are coming through our startup incubator. Like, we can help them too along the way so that they reach escape velocity with their startups. Because if they really enjoy what they're doing, because they enjoy the process, then they're much more likely to succeed with that business too, right? So Aila is getting close to escape velocity, I think. I'm just assessing. It's very hard to know. It's like she's gotten really good at writing. She's gotten really good at being able to learn. And it's becoming, some aspects of it are becoming more enjoyable. But I was thinking maybe we could just talk about, like, what are some of the things that we can try to do? What are components of escape velocity? What are the things that help people as they're going down this path to equilibrium, where going down that path becomes enjoyable, so much so that people like start to go faster and faster and faster, like a spaceship exiting the Earth's gravity.
But that's also kind of like, well,
let's let Aila comment on this. Yeah. All right, Aila, what do you think? Like, what are some pieces of this?
I'm not very sure because I haven't like discovered the whole path to escape velocity. So like I don't really know how I'm gonna get to how I'm gonna get to escape velocity.
But what are some things that you think like helped you get closer to just kind of like more enjoying just creating projects? And
so you really
just,
you didn't
having
like
a plan, just like having a plan to do something every single day. Like for I'm writing, like I'm like doing a project every day, like writing an article every day, like Monday through Thursday. And I think that really helped because I was able to like do something every day, so I got better and better really, really quickly. And usually I'd maybe do it like once a week, and like I got better with that, but I think it was just much easier to get better when I'm doing it more often.
So this relates to the article that you wrote about curiosity. Because this curiosity is a huge part of escape velocity. If you become very curious, then that is a very powerful motivator that makes learning way easier. I think that curiosity is like a huge component of escape velocity, because if you can up your curiosity, then all of a sudden you're going to want to learn more, and it becomes easier to motivate yourself to go down that path to equilibrium, right?
Yep.
So there's a lot of different types of motivation we can use. One is fear, like fear of getting fired, right? Or fear of failing the math test. And so part of WEquil School, and part of what I think just across WEquil Group that we're trying to use as a form of motivation to help people, is to help teach them to be more curious. And you just mentioned one of those pieces. And that is to get so good at writing, just because you've done it enough, that it's just way easier to learn about stuff, because that's a big way, that's an easier way to learn, is to like basically write about everything you're learning about, right? Another one is to get really good at public speaking, because if you talk about things, you're going to internalize it more. Well, you're really, really good at public speaking. Like, you come up on all these demo days and you're doing it all the time. You're like always like the star of the show.
I think that one thing that really helps with like escape velocity, but also like curiosity, is like we were talking about, there's like the learning curve, but when it comes to just like learning about the world in general, it's the inverse of the learning curve, where it becomes kind of like it starts growing exponentially as you can start to make connections between things. So then once you know about enough stuff, that once you learn something new, you can start drawing connections between everything else that you know about. Then it becomes a lot more interesting and useful to you, because then you realize how this new thing that you learned about actually fits into everything else.
The drawing connections.
Yeah.
Well, that's like if you're learning about, I think that's why it's good to try to learn about things that have some relevance to somebody, because it just makes it easier to draw that connection.
Right.
And then you're gonna be able to connect it to something, so it's also easier to retain it. So that's a good point. So not only is it learn more about more things, but also try to learn about enough stuff that try to focus on things that have some connection to you. What's another piece, Aila? Like how do you, what are some other like principles we can use to better understand escape velocity and making it easier to drive forward along that path?
Maybe like when you're helping friends and stuff, it makes it more fun, because then you're able to then when you're helping friends, it makes you happy when you're helping them with something, but you're also learning about that thing that you're helping them about.
Yeah, okay, that's really cool. So basically collaboration, building in opportunities to collaborate with people that you enjoy. I think that the teaching, other people teaching, if they're friends of yours, right, if you had that relationship, then I think that really helps too. Like, you're going to be way more curious to know what Corey has to say about Flutter and the power of buttons than if it's just like some random person on YouTube talking about Flutter buttons, right? Yeah, for sure.
But I think the person on YouTube might have more experience. They might know a tiny bit
no
more
one
about
can have
Flutter
more
buttons.
experience with buttons.
Have more. No, Corey's got to be.
Yep.
Corey's got to be.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So that makes it. Yeah. So I think that kids, they're not going to have as much experience teaching some things, but it's way more fun listening to what they have to say about, black holes and stuff. I mean, like this demo day, like we're gonna have. There's a show called Kids Say the Darndest Things.
Kids say the what things?
The darndest.
What does that mean?
Well, kids say weird, funny things, basically.
Sometimes.
Yeah, well, this was a different show where the kids were like really young, like we're talking 3-4 years old.
Oh.
and it doesn't really relate to WEquil School, but every now and then, like the approach that kids have to writing about some of these topics is just so different sometimes than the way that parents and adults would approach it.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes it very interesting. That's why it's good to have a moderator, and it's good to have like a guest speaker who can come in there and kind of assess the situation,
Mhm.
right? And we've had a few occasions where the student had a project that there was probably something wrong with it. There was something kind of factual issue, or it was like just
Kind of like jumping to some conclusions. Or...
Right. Like I think somebody wrote an article about, so I won't say which student, but somebody wrote an article about solar panels, and they just immediately jumped to this conclusion that it was going to cause like massive, like huge piles of garbage everywhere, and like I don't know, like I think that they forgot that recycling was something you could do.
Yeah.
And it never made it on demo day, but if it was, then I would have challenged them on that, right?
Mhm.
If I were the guest speaker. But in the show, the kids say the darndest things. Like, it was just really fun to watch and see what these 3-4-year-old kids would be saying about various kind of more adult-like questions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of like what demo day is, where we have these young people talking about things that normally young people aren't talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it makes me way more enjoyable. Yeah, of course. That
Yeah.
definitely helps with escape velocity. I'd much rather hear what the kids have to say, but then it's helpful to have the guest speaker, the expert there, who can be there to kind of like fact check.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, so that's a big one. Okay, great. What are some other ingredients?
You go.
This is like the rocket fuel.
Mm-hmm.
What do we do to make it enjoyable?
Maybe find out what other people want and need, and then be able to tailor your interests to do that. Because it's a big part of escape velocity is helping, like, is like with the wants and like being able to do things that help with the wants and needs of the world. So maybe you want to find out and try.
So you just described like the definition of path to equilibrium.
Mm-hmm.
You're using your unique strengths and interests to add value to yourself and other people, right? But even with that, there are kids at WEquil School that aren't motivated.
I think one part of it is like being able to take responsibility for either something or your own learning, because then if it's kind of like, that's one thing that is like in schools you're just saying, okay, you got to learn about this thing, but then if you aren't taking responsibility for your own learning and then if you maybe aren't learning about something, then it's like, oh well, that's just because it's not included in the curriculum or like what I'm supposed to do. But then it's like, well, here are these things that you don't know that you could know about, and then taking responsibility for like saying, well, I could know about these things, and the fact that I don't is like on me, and that's something I have control over. But I think that also comes from like being able to have confidence in yourself, because if you don't have confidence, then you won't be able to actually take responsibility.
Mm-hmm. Also, one thought is like, if kids are able to say that I made this and I did this project, then it gives them a lot of confidence, and you need confidence in order to achieve escape velocity. And so I think that's one of the big things that I was able to use, because if I was able to say I made this project, and then like people could see that I did it, it just gave me a lot of more motivation to do more.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, this is the fuel in the rocket to try to get to escape velocity.
Yeah.
Confidence at the same time. 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
So confidence, and then also autonomy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
I think the 2, 3.
Yeah.
Great. We can cut that out and use it in the promo. Okay, great.
Right, yeah.
So another one I think is to really focus on the creative components,
Mhm.
right? Because that makes it more fun. To be creative is fun, right? So if you're just writing summaries of things you're learning about, like a Wikipedia article,
Mhm.
that's no fun.
Mhm.
Making things entertaining, being able to go up in front of other people and talk about it and try to engage with other people. Teaching is really fun.
It's hard. It's a bit harder to be creative with it though, because if you're able to just go on Google, search something up, and then write it down in your own words, it's not as hard. It's not. It's not as. It's like it's easier than having to come up with it all in your head. But it does make it more fun, and it does make it more enjoyable.
But also, like, communicating things in a creative way, because let's say you are trying to just communicate something that's just kind of just like just factual statements that you think would be helpful for people to know, then like actually how do you communicate it, and like what examples do you use in a way that like immediately relates it to someone's life, and just like when you're on demo day, how do you make it engaging, and how do you make it fun to watch, and how do you like improve on your presentation skills? I think that also requires creativity, because you can just be like fun and exciting, but also it takes creativity to like communicate things in a way that keeps people paying attention, even if it's like not really the most interesting topic in the world, but like how do you communicate it in a way that's engaging.
I agree with Aila though. It is harder.
Yeah.
It's harder to be creative. But like you can make it creative. So in all these project templates, there's an easy way to make everything creative, and that is add a last paragraph about why.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? Or like what's the takeaway, or like, so you can write the summary.
Yeah.
That's basically like the Wikipedia article. Right? And then or you can write I'm not recommending that. Like when I write book summaries, I'm not writing summaries. I'm writing my reflections on the book. Right? It's basically, what do I want to tell my future self about this book? And I'll often be pulling in thoughts and references from other books and other people, because that's relevant, right?
Yeah.
But then at the end, basically you can say, okay, and the reason why I wrote about the importance of having enough bamboo around your trampoline that you don't fall off and hurt yourself is because bamboo basically is just as good as a net. To prevent injury while jumping up and down.
And we lost our net.
Right. No,
I don't know why. I don't know how we lost.
No, I threw it away because I was like, bamboo's good enough. Yeah, the bamboo's good enough.
You threw it away?
Yeah, we have a perfectly good set of bamboo growing around at least half of the trampoline.
It's gonna take years.
It'll be fine.
Yeah. It's totally fine. Like, we've fallen off the trampoline and it's been fine.
It's been fine.
Yeah.
We never really had this issue.
Yeah.
And we never had, like, this is never the case. When I was growing up, it wasn't like you put, like, styrofoam around everything, and like, sometimes people fell off of a trampoline and it was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this isn't necessarily the best example.
Yeah.
But it is kind of funny.
And that's what's important. We're being creative.
We're being creative, yay!
Escape velocity.
So we have a Dr. McPhail sharing some thoughts that I think are useful here. So one is growth mindset. Yeah. The belief that one can actually improve is a key part of the fuel.
And then that's also responsibility too, because then if you have the belief that you can improve, then like the responsibility of that, of actually being able to take that, like, see, okay, I can change, so then I should try to improve on myself and stuff.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it's not the same though. The belief that one can improve is not the same as taking responsibility
Beautiful
for
logo.
improving. I'd say that it's a necessary condition, but most certainly not sufficient, right? One can believe that they can improve, but then not actually take responsibility for that improvement,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So growth mindset is both. Like,
It's also like setting up conditions for yourself where that like actually constrain you, where it's like, okay, well, I can improve, but in order for me to improve, then I'll need to have these certain things happen, and then it's just like, then you're making it so that you're kind of giving yourself excuses, like, okay, well, since these things aren't happening, I just don't have to improve, and this isn't necessary. But then that's just kind of it's kind of giving yourself excuses. You don't actually have to take responsibility, even if you think like even if you, I mean, maybe have a growth mindset in the sense that you know that it is possible to improve. But
yeah. All right. Well, do we have any last suggestions on components? This is I think it's some of these we may just add to Aila's list because she has an article about curiosity, and I think that that's a piece of this. But I think the broader one is escape velocity. So we can take some of these pieces and add to that list. Basically, building out a roadmap for kids and parents at WEquil School. But any other last components?
I think willingness to like just basically jump in and try things, and not being afraid of failure, or like, and just being able to go in and try to work on a project and try to work on making some of those things, just because you can wait forever and have nothing happen, but you know that's not really gonna get you anywhere. So
I feel like having experienced failure is part of it.
Right.
If you've experienced failure, then you realize that you're not afraid of it as much, right? And so then it's easier to try new things.
And even just taking a first step and like making a first project, even if it's only 2 paragraphs, then makes you think, oh, maybe then I don't have to, then why stop at 2 paragraphs? Why can't I do a 5-paragraph framework?
And then the 10 and then 20.
Yeah.
And then you're just like writing
It's
100
like
paragraph articles.
Yeah.
Mommy wrote Hobbits. I don't think that Hobbits really help.
I think that
with
says
escape
habits.
Oh, habits. Oh.
Yeah. I mean, maybe
Sorry.
we could fit hobbits in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Hobbits
That'd be great.
can achieve escape velocity.
Yeah, and then
too.
we can show Sam Gamgee, like Samwise carrying Frodo like up Mount Doom. Be like, see,
escape velocity.
if you can just channel your inner hobbit.
Yeah.
All right, but habits, having good habits like eat bacon every morning.
Yeah.
That's what we do. Mommy
It's
makes.
a great habit.
We eat pork butts, not bacon.
Right. Yeah, that's
Same
what I meant.
thing.
Yeah, same thing. Same thing.
Basically the same thing.
You know, work on your button every morning.
Oh yeah.
Attack that button. You know? I think what are some other good hobbits? There's Frodo.
Yep.
There's Pippin.
Yep.
There's
I think this is really helpful, you know?
This is really, really good.
I mean,
We're staying
This is
on
really
topic.
we should
We're
we should have a timestamp in the
Focus.
comments so people know to jump to this part, because this is really the most
This is the
important part.
most. We'll put this in the front.
Yeah.
This is very related to escape velocity.
Yeah, and the
If
thumbnail.
you take
The
away
thumbnail should
anything
be
from this
Aila
video-
when she was yawning while Sume is explaining her point, and I'm going Hobbit. You know,
And I was like,
escape velocity. How hobbits achieved.
yeah,
Okay.
this is very relevant.
Yeah, good habits.
Yeah.
Definitely good habits.
Yes.
I mean, you gotta have good sleep, right?
I'm trying to yawn.
WEquil juice, right?
Oh,
Every morning.
yes.
Every
WEquil
morning.
juice.
Every
Oh,
morning.
yeah.
Right?
We gotta get Aila on WEquil juice.
Oh, too young.
Mm-hmm.
Too young.
You were 4, Sumay.
That was an accident.
That was an accident.
We didn't know that there was actual caffeine inside of decaf on a cruise.
Want to know the secret?
So Sume was waking up every morning, like getting her decaf because she saw mommy and daddy doing it, and so she was, Aila, you didn't really.
4-year-old Sume with her
So
decaf.
she had her decaf, and she's like, "Good morning, everybody. This is so good. I love cruising." And then somebody,
As a cruise, it's like,
and then somebody,
I love decaf.
yeah. And then some very nice lady came up to us and was like, so you do know that there is caffeine inside of decaf coffee. It's just not as much caffeine. And we're like, oh, maybe we shouldn't do that. And so the next morning we told Sume, sorry, you can't have decaf coffee. And so she was just like, what? Huh?
But I'm so tired.
How am I gonna wake up? It's like the whole day she's like, yeah. The next few days. Yeah. So then, yeah.
Yep.
But, I mean,
so
it's,
hobbits.
Yeah,
Okay.
so you gotta have good hobbits like decaf coffee for your
Yeah,
4-year-olds.
exactly.
Only at WEquil School.
School.
All right. Don't give kids drugs.
Yeah.
All right.
That's not good.
Drugs are bad. All right. All right.
Okay.
I think we should end on that note.
Yep.
Yeah, drugs are bad.
Yep.
Okay. Cheers.
Okay.
Ready to hit it. Okay. Bye.
Bye.